We are now joined by our second place finisher in the Foxwoods Resort Casino 301, Kyle Busch, the driver of the number 18 Interstate Batteries Toyota. Kyle, talk about a little bit about the end of that race.
We were not in a position we probably deserved to be in, but my guys worked really, really hard all day long. The performance of our car just wasn't great from the onset of the weekend and throughout today's race as well, too. Although we kept making it better, certainly Adam Stevens and the guys made some really good calls and some adjustments on getting us better and better and better throughout the day. And my pit crew being awesome, being able to put us in that position to have the last control of the last restart and to be able to lead for that many laps. It was just a matter of time, though. Those SHR cars were really fast. It was just a matter of time before they'd get to me and get by me. But, you know, a little bumping and banging, rubbins racing. We go on next week.
We open it to questions. Go ahead, Terrell.
You mentioned the team a lot. I think sometimes it's lost on people how important the team aspect is of this sport. Can you just talk a little bit more about how important the entire team is to having success?
Absolutely. You know, it takes having great cars, a great team, Joe Gibbs Racing, TRD, Toyota, engines underneath the hood, and of course, you know, Adam Stevens, my crew chief, and my engineers. Those guys, all the work that they do, the awesome job that they do for me on the race cars when we get to the racetrack, and then of course too, just my pit crew. I mean, they're the best that's out there right now. Each and every week, they prove it, and they did it again this weekend, giving us the lead and the onset of the race. We just didn't have a good enough car. You know, we just kind of missed it a little bit all weekend long. We just could never find what it took to be the best or to be fast enough to hold off some of them guys that were faster than us, and that's what we saw there at the end.
Other questions? That's it, Kyle. Thank you very much. Congratulations. We are now joined by the third place finisher, Aric Almirola, driver number 10 Smithfield Ford. Aric, best finish of the season.
Yeah.
12th top 5 of your career. Best finish in New Hampshire. Talk a little about your
You'd think I'd be happy.
Well, you tell us, Aric.
We had an incredible Smithfield Ford Fusion today and felt like it was the car to beat for sure. And we got out front there and felt really good about it, felt comfortable. And that last caution there, we came down pit road leading, went out third. Lost control of the race, and then I spun my tires on the restart and didn't even give myself a fighting chance to go race for the win. So just frustrated on all parts that we didn't execute the way we need to try and win. Chicago, we had a car capable of winning and didn't get it done. Here again, had a car capable of winning, didn't get it done. So it's frustrating, but everybody keeps telling me you got to lose some before you win some. So we've lost some. It's time to stop it. It's time to go to victory lane, and we're capable. We've got a race team capable of doing it. Our cars are really fast and just ready to go get to victory lane next week. Where are we going next week? Pocono. Perfect. Let's go.
We'll open the floor for questions. We'll start with Rich here, and the gentleman.
Hi, Aric. Rich Thompson, Boston Herald. Could you just look at the big picture for Stuart Hart's racing today? It looks like a 1, 3, and a 9.
Yeah, it's incredible, the race cars that they're bringing to the racetrack. We've got really fast race cars, and everybody at the shop's doing an incredible job. And we've been able to show up every week with cars capable of running in the top 10. And then throughout practice, if Johnny and I and the engineers dial in on a setup and get the car close, we're capable of winning. And we've proven that the last few weeks. And I feel like we've really hit our stride. You know, the first 10, 12 races of the season, we were trying to learn each other, figure each other out. You know, and these last 6, 7 races, it's really clicked, and we're showing up to the racetrack with speed. We're getting the balance of our cars right throughout practice. And for the race, we're getting the car the best we've had it all weekend. And if we continue to do that and put ourselves in position, we're going to win. So I'm ready for it to hurry up and come.
Zach Tanswetti, KickingTires.net. You're a man of large perspective. You definitely understand that side of life. With all that you've been through the last year, couple years with the 43 team, did you ever think you'd be disappointed with a third-place finish?
No, but it's who I am. It's all of us as race car drivers. We're competitive. We want to win, and especially when you have a car like we had today. I mean, you go out there, and I think we led the most laps. I don't know if we did or not, but I feel like we did. And when you have a car that fast and that dominant late in the race, and you don't win, it's disappointing. And there's no way to hide that. I could put on a big smiley face, and deep down inside, it would be fake. I'm disappointed because I thought that was going to be us going to victory lane, and we didn't capitalize on it today. So that's the frustrating part, but there's a lot of positive to bring out of it. The car that we had, we did a really good job of keeping up with the track as the racetrack changed, and we had a really fast Smithfield Ford Fusion. I hate it that we didn't go to victory lane. I feel like we owe it to so many people, and especially me personally. I feel like I owe it to so many people that believed in me. I mean, it was a huge leap of faith for people to give me the opportunity when I didn't have a lot of stats to back up deserving to get this ride. But Tony Stewart and Gene Haas and the people at Smithfield and Ford Motor Company and everybody that believed in me to give me this opportunity, I feel like I owe it to them to go win and prove them right. And that hurts the most. As much as I want to win for me and selfishly, I want to win for them too. I don't know. They were both equally really good. Anytime you can outrun Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex and those guys like we did at Chicago and like we were able to do this weekend, anytime you can do that, you've got a damn good race car. So I felt like both weekends we had a really, really good race car compared to the field.
We'll go to the gym to the right, and we'll go back over here on the left.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. A couple things.
Who?
First,
Who?
do you feel
Can you repeat your name?
Jim Utter, motorsport.com?
Okay.
A lot of guys coming into this weekend had talked about, not necessarily from your team, about how they felt they needed to be perfect in order to compete with the likes of Kevin and Kyle Busch and Martin Truex Jr. Was today an example of that for you as well, needing to be perfect in order to contend with your teammate?
Yeah, I think you look at those teams and they're seasoned teams, they're veteran teams, and they execute on every level. And when you make a mistake, it's hard to fight back. We actually had an issue on pit road, our very first pit stop of the race today, and fell all the way back to last. We had an issue on the right front, didn't get the right front on, so we battled back from that, drove all the way back up to the lead, and then right there at the end, we lost control of the race by coming off pit road third instead of leading like we came down. So that's where those guys are so good. They under pressure, they perform at their highest level. And today, we didn't. We came down pit road leading the race. We went out third, and then on the restart, I didn't do a good job, and we didn't, as a team, we didn't give ourselves a chance to win when it mattered the most. We had the best car, and we didn't do it. So, but I have no doubt that as we clean those things up and as we get better as a team, that we are going to be a contender and we're going to be tough to beat. And that's what I keep telling everybody. We're so new and so young, and we're 20 races into working together, and we're good. We're not great, but we have potential to be great because I don't feel like we've reached our max potential just because everything's so new and we're still learning each other and learning what I like in the race cars and all of those things. So it's getting there, and if we keep performing like we are right now and we put ourselves in position and we get used to racing for wins, the wins will come.
And along those lines, you mentioned about wanting to win for all the people who have been supportive of you getting this opportunity. But I just wondered, I know how part of the win is, but what you've been able to accomplish already this season for you personally, does it serve as some justification for yourself that this was the right that this is what you wanted to do and that you were on the right path?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it does. It makes me sleep better at night. You know, I think had my career ended at the end of last year and I never got another opportunity, I for the rest of my life would go to sleep at night and wonder how good I was as a race car driver. Because you know, I feel like it's fair to say that I've had not good enough equipment as an excuse. Well, now I have this opportunity here at Stewart-Haas Racing, and equipment is not an excuse. We have the best of everything. We have everything we need to go out and compete for wins, and so it's up to me and my team. And so, yeah, I do feel like there is justification running up front and racing with Martin Truex and Kevin Harvick and Kyle Busch and all of those guys that run up front on a regular basis. It makes me feel like I'm capable and I can do it. And so that, you know, that does make me feel better, and at least I'll be able to sleep at night knowing that given the right opportunity, I could perform at that level. Now we just got to figure out how to go win.
Paul Lambert from Short Track Scene. Aric, as you make this second trip to some of these tracks, are you going to be able to make that next step and start getting those wins that have kind of eluded you the last 3 weeks?
I think so. I really do. I feel like, you know, going back to some of these tracks that we'll now have notes at, you know, a lot of these tracks all year long, we've shown up kind of blind. We have no real notebook, and we've showed up and just kind of guessed at where we needed to unload, and then throughout the weekend made a lot of changes to dial our car in and get it better. And so now we're going to go back to these races where we have a notebook and we know, hey, we changed these things in practice and it made our car better. We're going to start with that already in our car, and then we'll be able to fine tune on that and make that better. And we learn what not to do. You know, we've gone to some racetracks earlier this year where we've unloaded and made some changes, and it was the wrong way. And we know now not to venture down that path. So it's as much of learning what to do as it is what not to do, and it's just building a foundation in a notebook. And when you look at the teams that are very successful, the big three that all you guys talk about, they've all been working together for 3, 4, 5, 6 years now, and they've got a foundation. And that's what has me excited about my relationship with Johnny Klossmeyer and my engineers and this whole 10 team is that we're young. We're just a young group of guys all in our early 30s, and we're learning each other, and we're new, and we're already starting to compete with these guys 20 races into working together. So I feel like we have so much potential to continue to get better.
We'll go to Matthew in the back, then we'll go to Terrell, and then we'll go into the press box.
Matthew Warners with WWLP 22 News. Aric, I wanted to ask you, 2 sunny days here, Friday and Saturday, for practice and qualifying. It rained this morning. How did it change the track with the PJ1?
I think the PJ1 was really sticky and fired off with a lot of grip, and then as the race went on, it wore off. And I think, you know, we kind of expected that, and we kind of planned for that in practice. You know, by the time happy hour rolled around, the PJ1 started to wear off some, just because of all the laps that were on the racetrack. So we kind of felt like we had a good idea of where the racetrack was going to go, and I felt like we had a good handle on what we needed. So really proud of Johnny Klossmeyer and Mike Cook and Mark and all the guys on, you know, the road crew of this team preparing the race car that they did for the race today. We did a good job of getting it dialed in final practice. We hit on a few things that really woke the car up, and then they made some adjustments overnight that had the car really rolling nicely today. So you know, we're doing the things that we need to do, you know, with the race car to have race cars fast enough just on raw speed to win. Now there's a whole other dynamic that goes into winning, you know, just execution from my part on restarts and getting the job done on pit road and all of those things. It's a team sport. And so if it was just, you know, if it was just car and driver and we lined up and went and raced, we probably would have had a shot to win today just like we did, but there's so much more that goes into it.
Terrell Covey, Portsmouth Herald. You know, Daytona, Chicago, here you've had all these races where you're right there. How do you keep positive and keep looking at the potential instead of going, oh, what's going to go wrong next?
It just has me more motivated, really. I just have more fire in my belly and more motivation and I have more confidence. You know, just knowing that we're close, we're right there, and we just got to keep pounding. We got to keep grinding and keep after it, and you know, we're gonna win. I mean, you can say I said it here in the media center at Loudon, New Hampshire, but we're running too good, and we're too competitive to not win. It's just a matter of when are we going to win? and so I firmly believe that, and I think that's the mentality that we all have on this team, and that's what has us fired up, and we keep working hard every week, and we don't worry about anybody else. We're just focused on our team and our car and doing the things that we need to do to make our car go fast, and you know, we're on the brink of getting there. So hopefully it happens soon, but if not, I'll take it in the first round of the playoffs too.
Questions from the press box?
Lee Spencer, I wanted to ask you what happened on that last restart, by the way, Aric.
I laid back off of Harvick's bumper a little bit and was trying to time the restart to roll up to him and Kyle went right at the beginning, maybe even slightly before, but he went right at the beginning, if nothing else, of the restart zone, and it caught me off guard. Earlier in the race, they had been dragging the restart out further in the restart zone, so I was kind of anticipating that. And when Kyle fired, I was caught off guard, and when I fired, I just spun the tires because I wasn't prepared. So that was totally my bad. And instead of giving myself a fighting chance to go up there and win and race those guys for the win, I fell back to 6th and had to battle back to 3rd.
And one last question. Are you surprised it took you this long to get your first podium finish with Stewart-Haas Racing?
Yes, I am actually. You know, we've had really good cars in Richmond. You know, we drove from 27th all the way to 2nd, almost won the first stage. I think we ran 2nd in the 2nd stage, and then again didn't execute, kind of fell apart, and finished poorly at the end of the race. So you know, I look at so many different races where we've had cars capable of running in the top 5, and we haven't finished in the top 5 yet. And I feel like that's almost made us more under the radar. You know, people are talking about this 10-team less, which has been fine by me, because I've been confident in you know, I know what we're capable of, and I know the speed that we've had in our cars. So I feel like, you know, being on the radar has been kind of a good thing for us. It's put less pressure on us, and we've gone out and performed at a high level, and sometimes it's been unnoticed. So today, here we are. We led a bunch of laps, and we finished 3rd.
Any additional questions? Thanks, Aric.
All right, thanks,
Congratulations.
guys.
Finish it up? Okay. We are now joined by the crew chief for the number 4 Busch Beer Ford, Rodney Childers. Rodney, talk a little bit about tonight's race.
Yeah, we had a good race. We had a really good weekend in general. You know, you look back at the fall race here last year, and we were absolutely horrible and you know, embarrassed to say the least. So from that race on, we really went to work and made our cars a lot better for the short tracks, and I think that showed with you know, Phoenix this year, and then coming up.
Is one of the toughest to pass when he has control of the race, and you know, for me, that was the moment that I needed to make it happen, and we were able to execute it well and drive away, and he finished 2nd, right? Yeah, so.
Matthew, then we'll go to Bob.
Matthew Ernst with WWLP 22 News. Kevin, I wanted to ask you how the track was today after the rain. And another question I wanted to ask you was, I know you've voiced your opinion in short track racing. How cool is it to see grassroots of the modifieds in the K&N series up here?
The track itself was different at the beginning because it was obviously the PJ1 was fresh, and as the race went, it really started to wear off, and I was able to find kind of a different line than everybody else, and that was really where my car would take off after about 10 or 12 laps, and we could make time and turn down sooner than everybody and get to the fresher PJ1 and get better drive up off the corner. It kind of got caked up in the middle of the corner, and there was a lot of grip there, but it would turn. So if you could get down there soon enough, it really helped it. As far as the grassroots stuff, I've enjoyed being a part of the Stafford Speedway conversation, and those guys, they're up there, they're racing every week for every dollar that they can get. So just to be a small part of it, and really it's all about bringing attention to the guys and gals and racetracks and people that need the support from this level. It's not just me. I mean, there's a lot of guys that do different things, whether it's supporting them and drawing attention, or going and racing, or sponsoring cars, or owning teams, whether it's sprint cars, late models. There's a lot of participation in this garage from a lot of people, and it's just really just making that heard. And and the more you hear about it, the more attention that it brings, the more excitement that it brings, and that's what we need from that level. But when you see the modified race up here, you realize that that's usually probably the best show of the weekend, and it was right there at it again this week.
Bob, then Terrell.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. Kyle said that everybody has fair game on Kyle Busch. He said your move was fine, no harm, no foul, but he also said he thought you might take a little bit longer to try to pass him clean. So I'm curious, did you think about waiting till maybe 2 or 3 to go?
No, I figured that's exactly what he was thinking, and I knew I needed to take the opportunity as early as I could get it, because I knew that he was thinking late, and we needed to do it when he wasn't expecting it, because the more opportunities to get in his wheelhouse, in his thought process, the less chance that you have. He's that good, and if you wait till 2 or 3 to go, the entries are going to get shallower. He's going to start grinding on the brakes a little bit harder. He's going to put himself in a position to not get hit, and he's going to go on defense and start to really get aggressive too. So it's I wanted to do it earlier, just to try to catch him off guard.
And do you consider that clean if he finishes second?
I mean, you got to do. These races are hard to win, and when you're in position, it's one of those things that you have to do what you have to do for your team, and you want to do everything that you can to not spin them out and not wreck them, and just make it as clean as possible, and try to accomplish the bump and run. And today we're able to accomplish it well and win the race.
Terrell, go ahead.
Terrell Covey, Portsmouth Herald. You both, two of your teammates today looked like they were kind of in position to win it, and you come in at the end, and what separates you? What allows you to close these things out? When the guys that you share so much with kind of don't have that opportunity.
Yeah, I felt like Aric had the best car today. I mean, he could really run the bottom well and make time down there. And when he wanted to go down there, he could make passes. I wasn't as good at it as he was down there. And it really just came down to a restart. And there's just, it's a really finicky place to restart, especially on the inside down there. And it looked like he just spun the tires and kind of got everything stacked up. But it's like I told him at Chicago. I mean, sometimes you got to lose a few before you actually put it all together and win them. But the way that they've come on strong says a lot about the progress that they've made, and it's great to have that 10 car being a valuable tool to the other 3 cars at Stewart-Haas.
Go to Paul. We'll go to the gentleman in the back, and then we'll go to Jim over here on the right.
Paul Everett from Short Track Scene. Kevin, we've seen guys like Ryan Newman getting the modifieds. Newman said yesterday he doesn't feel the responsibility to grassroots racing per se. Do you feel that responsibility to keep that alive and keep it out there?
I feel like we can help. I feel like it's everybody's responsibility to a certain degree to try to help the grassroots, and I'm talking NASCAR all the way up, drivers, and look, that none of us have the time to dedicate an abundance of time to the things that we do, but we all have a great pedestal to stand on, beat our chest and talk about things. And you know, I did the K&N race this year in Bakersfield and drew a lot of attention to the series, and did the same thing last year in Sonoma. You know, Newman and just racing in the modified brings some someone like you that you know can write about Ryan racing, and so you know it's not his responsibility, it's not my responsibility. It's something that we all should wrap our arms around to try to help make it healthier, because I believe that that's where a lot of our hardcore fans are and have gone, and the healthier that the short track stuff is, the better off we all are going to be.
Jeff Facconi, Purdue University, Wiley Radio. So the last time you and I talked, we actually had a conversation about how important team cohesion is, and one of the bigger stories at the beginning of the week was some pit crew members being changed around all over Stewart-Haas Racing. Do you think those changes benefited you, and will they stay throughout the rest of the season?
You're asking the wrong guy. I don't make those decisions.
I mean, in general, it seemed like we had a good day on pit road. You know, we've had our ups and downs. I think you know, a lot of attention was toward that way this week after Kentucky, and you know, you look back at Chicago, and we had stops. We had one stop at Chicago. We picked up 5 spots. And the problem was we couldn't do that consistently, and this week was really about matching personalities, matching the skill sets of different people, and we felt like that we did that as a company. And you know, I can't speak for everybody else. I don't know what all happened with the other 3 teams, but you know, our stops weren't clean by any means. But I can say when they are clean, you know, they weren't clean, and we had 13 twos. So when we are clean, they're going to be right there with the 18. So we just got to get people working together. You know, they had, you know, one day to practice with each other before we came, and but overall they did a good job.
Let's go Jim, then we'll go to Bob, and then we'll go to Jeff.
Jim Utter, motorsport.com. For Rodney, late there at the end, you told Kevin, do what you got to do to win the race. Was that kind of reflective of the philosophy that Kevin was referring to about earlier than later? Because I'm assuming you don't need to tell him to do that in general.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's short track racing, and like I told Claire earlier, I won lots and lots of short track races growing up. Not one of them did I win without bumping somebody. You know, and you know, you listen to Kyle's radio as soon as it happened. He said, "Man, I was holding him up." You know, it's just part of it. You got to do what you got to do. But on the other hand, we're sitting there watching the radar, and there's people on the spotter stand complaining about it raining. In those situations, you have to try to win the race. And like he said, we look back at Michigan all the time, thinking that it's a race that we should have won. But you have to take advantage of every circumstance.
Bob Hockers, ESPN. Kevin, I know wins are huge, but
Where are you from, Bob?
ESPN.
ESPN, okay.
Do playoff points matter, like, in what's kind of clean and what's acceptable on these last laps now? I mean, because every win, I mean, that's a 10-point swing in playoff points between you.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's really what you're racing for right now, and the win is the way that you get the most. So, you know, to get 5 points, and like you say, it's a 10-point swing. So, you know, we'll be 32, and I don't know what he has, but you know, it's right there at it. So, you know, it'll be at some point it'll be leaned on over the last 10 weeks, and you know, you look at that first round, and you go to Vegas and hope that everything goes okay, and then you go to Richmond and the Roval, and you know, you've seen how many cars we've crashed at the Roval so far. So, you know, that's going to be survival, and you just never know what's going to happen. It's going to be a great event. With all the unknowns, but you know, you could be the unknown of getting in the big wreck in turn 1, or crashing on your own, or whatever the case may be. And there's just that first round just has a lot of unknowns. So, you know, you finish where you are right now, you'll have 42 points, and you know, you're creeping in on a whole race, and that's really what you're trying to guard yourself with are those playoff points. Because you could look at Kyle Larson last year. He had a bad race and an engine failure. Done. Had a bunch of playoff points, and you know, considered a favorite to go to Homestead, and you know, probably gets to Homestead. He's going to be hard to beat, getting up against that fence. But you know, you're going to have trouble, and you know, there's 2 ways out: playoff points or win.
How do you execute the perfect bump and run without wrecking somebody? Is it a fine line?
It is a fine line. You know, you want to try to get them right as they're at the apex coming off the brake, so that you know it gets to that's right when the back of the car is the lightest, and you don't want to get them while they're turning off the wall into the corner and back them into the fence. So it's a fine line of trying to get it right, and sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't.
Gentleman in the back.
Bob Bianchi, WSMN News. You're pretty masterful at the bump and run. Is there some concern going into the playoffs that somebody that might not be as talented as you, that might come back and bite you?
You know, you just race every week. You don't worry about things you can't control.
Any final questions? Go ahead.
Kevin, the home race for Nicholas Teo, YankeeRacer.com. The home race for Textron, obviously important to win on their home turf, but can you just speak to how they supported your career?
Yeah, Textron has been a huge part of everything that we've done, whether it's flying to the racetrack or Textron Off-Road or Easy Go. They've supported everything that we've done at KHI since 2008. So they've been a long-standing partner of ours and always support everything that we do. So it's fun to have them on board.
Kevin and Rodney, congratulations.